You know, history isn't always made on battlefields or in the halls of power. Sometimes the biggest changes come from something much, much simpler. Something you could literally hold in your hand. Today, we're talking about a humble piece of metal that didn't just change farming, it built the very foundation of civilization itself, the iron plowshare.
We tend to tell history through objects of conflict, right? Swords, crowns, things like that. But what if that's not the whole story? We're going to explore how the power to create and to cultivate can be so much more transformative than the power to destroy. So what's the big deal? Why was this one piece of metal so absolutely revolutionary? Let's break down the massive technological leap that happened when ancient farmers finally got their hands on iron.
Okay, first things first. Let's get up close with the plowshare itself. It's basically the business end of the plow, the part that does all the dirty work. Think of it like the tooth that bites into the earth, breaking up that tough, compacted soil. A weak or dull plowshare meant wasted effort, and maybe even starvation. But a strong, sharp one, well, that was the key to survival.
Before iron, farmers had to make do with tools made of wood, stone, or if they were lucky, bronze. But even bronze was kind of soft. It would wear down, it would break, and a lot of the time it just scratched the surface of really tough ground. Iron, though? Oh man, iron was a completely different beast. It was incredibly durable, it held a sharp edge for way longer, and it could handle the huge stress of being dragged through rocky soil day in and day out.
So, this tougher, more durable tool sounds great in theory, but what did it actually mean for a farmer out there in the field? Let's try to picture what this innovation meant for someone trying to feed their family in a pretty challenging landscape like ancient Canaan. For that individual farmer, it meant absolutely everything. All of a sudden, land that was once impossible to farm, too rocky, too dry, was now on the table. They could plow deeper, which created a much better home for their crops to grow, and instead of constantly stopping to fix a broken wooden plow, they could just keep farming. This all led to the one thing that mattered most, a way better chance of a successful harvest, which was literally the difference between life and death.
But here's the thing. An iron plowshare doesn't just magically appear in a farmer's hands. Its journey from a rock in the ground to a tool in the field tells a really fascinating story about just how complex and interconnected these ancient societies were becoming.
When you look at this process, you start to see this hidden network of specialists. The farmer is just the final link in a really long and complicated chain. Way before a single seed gets planted, you had miners digging ore out of the earth. You had smelters with specialized know-how turning that ore into usable iron. And then you needed a skilled blacksmith to forge it into the perfect shape. This wasn't just farming anymore, it was a team effort across a bunch of different industries.
And this is where we see a fundamental pattern of human progress. The iron plowshare isn't just a farming tool, it's an early industrial product. It's the intersection of what farmers needed and what metalworkers could do. As one skill got better, it pushed the other one to get better too, creating this powerful cycle of innovation.
Okay, so we have a better tool, and it's created by this whole network of skilled workers. But the story doesn't stop there, not even close. Let's zoom way out and see the incredible ripple effect of this one little innovation. You might be surprised to learn how this simple piece of metal helped build entire cities. It all starts with a pretty simple equation, really. You have a stronger plowshare, one that can break new ground and last for seasons.
Which means you get more food from the same piece of land. And this is the crucial turning point. This creates a surplus of food, more than a single family needs just to get by.
And that food surplus? Well, that's the key to population growth. With a more reliable and abundant food supply, communities could not only survive, they could actually thrive, supporting way more people than ever before.
And that growth is the foundation for, well, everything else. More people living together leads to villages, which grow into towns, and then eventually into cities with complex economies and political systems. And it all traces back to the food grown on that agricultural base.
So what does this ancient story really mean for us today? I mean, what can a piece of rusted iron from thousands of years ago possibly teach us about our own lives?
This quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? While crowns and swords are often held up as these symbols of power, they're completely dependent on the fundamental work of making food. Civilization isn't built from the top down, it's supported from the ground up.
And that's the ultimate lesson here. The true engines of history are rarely the glamorous, shiny objects you see in museums. More often than not, they are humble, practical innovations that just solve an everyday problem.
A famous battle might change a border on a map, but a tool like the iron plowshare changes the entire course of human society.
Which leads to a really fascinating final question. The iron plowshare was the quiet world changer of its era. So what are the equivalents today? What's the seemingly ordinary tool in your life right now that's solving a problem so fundamental its true impact won't be understood for centuries? It's something pretty wild to think about.